我这个口红看起来好淡啊，感觉像没 Sorry. So we're about to go. I mean, we're already in live right now. We're just gonna wait for like several minutes for people to join. So hi guys, this is Twiggy. So we're doing SuccessLab right here. So feel free to share this live stream with all your friends out there if they're thinking about, using laser machine to start a small business, because we're going to invite a lot of, of our guests. Either they are very successful small business laser owner, or actually they are, running their, YouTube channels, or like Justin's, right? So make sure to go ahead and share this live stream with all your friends out there, because I think it's going to be a tremendous help for them to, get a lot of information for those people who already have experience in the past of running a small business using laser. Because I know, for example, for me, when I was like, entering the industry like 3 years ago, I know nothing about laser. I don't even know what laser is. But right now I realize you can do so many things with laser machine. For example, start a small business. And if you are a craft lover, laser machine is also going to be your go-to machines, right? So yeah, there's so many things to learn about laser. So make sure to go ahead and share this live stream with all your friends out there, for them to join this, SuccessLab right here, because I think it's really about, giving each other like feedbacks, suggestions, or like get people to kickstart on their small business journey. Okay, so let's see how many people we have right now. Can I see the page? Okay, so we have 36 people right now watching. So hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 4th session of our xTool Success Lab. Okay. So today's session will provide, valuable insights, for a creative entrepreneur looking forward to grow their business, and discover how discover how xTool can help you overcome challenges and streamline your small workflow and achieve your goals, right? So Success Lab is about, highlighting the journey of creative entrepreneurs who have successfully turned their passion into a thriving business, all while leveraging tools like xTool to make it happen. So whether you are just starting your journey, or you're already on your entrepreneur journey, so I think there's something for you in our Success Lab, right? So what you can find in our xTool Success Lab? I mean, you can find, because we're going to share successful story. We're going to invite successful, business owner in the laser industry to share their entrepreneur journey. In this time, it's Justin. And then we're going to analyze the key success factor, deeply analyze the key factor for the success in the laser industry, such as, market insights, product innovations, and, brand building, and also the team management. And also we're going to provide some practical business tools for you guys. I'm going to share various, practical business tool and methods, such as, market research, business plan, writing, sales skills, and, financial management, and to help you improve your business capability. And also we're going to, stimulate some innovative thinking, because we really think that, give each other, suggestion and feedback, and, that can stimulate some innovative thinking about how you can run your small business, either on your social media platform, or, on the website. And there's so many things that you can do, about, starting a small business using laser. And also, in today's, Success Lab, we also have a very exciting offer for you. I think last time we did an F1, but this time we're going to do you have a chance to win our S1 20 watts machines, one of the best, small business beginner machine, because, when I look at S1, I think S1 is the best, entry level laser machine for beginners. Right. So this is one of our, best, small business starter machine available. Besides, right now we're doing a 4th anniversary sale on our website right now. So you can also browse through our xTool store, and, take advantage of the biggest, discount of the year. And also the anniversary sale is, comparable to holidays like, Black Friday with discount up to 60% off. So you can take advantage of that as well. And so now let's, introduce our, guest right here, which is our guest. Justin Bitner is the creator of Bitner Built woodworking, YouTube channel with an audience of over 50K followers. Justin has, tested a variety of our xTool machines, such as P2, F1 Ultra, S1, and so on, and also including other brands. So he has an in-depth knowledge of the woodworking industry. Not only he's an expert in the woodworking industry, Justin has also had experience of running amazing 20 small business. I didn't know that before. You have run a 20 small business before. That is amazing. That has ultimately funded his success. So today he will share share, a lot of, valuable feedbacks and valuable, suggestions about how to overcome, the small business when you encounter some like difficulty on the road. And also as an influencer in the field of YouTube channel of woodworking, perhaps, Justin can also answer a lot of your questions about, starting a small business on social media platforms such as YouTube. So welcome, Justin.
Thank you so much, Jordy.
Hi, guys.
Everybody. So I'm Justin Bitner. I have the Bitner Built YouTube channel. I do a lot of laser work, woodworking, DIY, things like that. I am a husband and father. I have twin 14-year-old boys who are they're on the U.S. National Kung Fu team, so we travel around a lot doing martial arts and things. So very proud of them. I like to do rock climbing and woodworking, obviously.
Wow.
I'm a direct philanthropist, as we call it in our household. We like to do a lot for the community, and so like we, as you see in the slide that'll pop up in a second, we had a Ukrainian refugee family come to live with us. I've helped several of my business employees start their own businesses, just because I wanted to help them kind of achieve the next level that they might not have been able to do under me. So we like to give back to the community quite a bit. The YouTube channel was kind of an accident for me, a happy accident.
Really?
I didn't set out to do it. I actually had a company ask me to make them a few videos, so I put it up, and then the YouTube channel took off. So here I am, it's kind of turned into its own business unto itself, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
As you had mentioned, Twiggy, I've owned over 20 businesses, which to some people is like, whoa, that's like, to some people that's a red flag. I started my first business when I was in college, and I've never worked for anybody the rest of my life other than myself. So being an entrepreneur, it's all about just kind of going after things, and sometimes things don't work out. You end up learning from those. I've had a lot of successful businesses. I'm currently on 5. And some of them have been open for 15 years. So I've done pretty well with them. And it's kind of been all over the board for me, from doing medical products for children with autism and developmental delays, to student loans, to I had a restaurant franchise with over 160 units in it. And, now I'm here on YouTube too. So it's kind of all over the place, but I've learned quite a bit. And so for me, doing this so many times, a lot of the startup phase of a business is very common sense to me now. So I do like to share that out with people, because when you're doing just the startup phase of business, it's very easy to fail. And you don't want to fail in the beginning, of course, but simple mistakes can cause that failure to happen. And so there's a lot of little tips and tricks and things that hopefully we can go over here that might give you the right mindset, so that doesn't happen with you with your own small business venture. So kind of the things that we're going to talk about today are mitigating risks, where to sell my items, how to price my items, and then some financial stuff. And that's actually a lot of the questions that I hear in like the xTool Facebook groups all the time. People are constantly in there asking, how we should price my products and things. So that's definitely some things that I want to talk about today.
Okay.
So
go ahead. Here's your stage.
Cool. So let's start off with kind of defining your business. If you're getting into the laser space here, it's probably because you've thought of a particular thing that you want to make and put out there for sale. Something that you think is really cool, that you would enjoy making, that you think other people will be interested in buying. And that's great. But when you first start out, you do want to cast a wide net and see what your local population is interested in. Just because it is something you're interested in, it might not be what people are interested in buying.
Right.
I had somebody contact me on my YouTube channel where they were selling Adirondack chairs, and he had gone to 3 different craft fairs. No one was buying his Adirondack chairs, and he didn't know what was wrong. And I took a look at everything that he had sent me over. Everything looked good, and in the end, it just was that area wasn't interested in that. So it is important in the beginning to kind of cast a wider net, see what sells, see what people are interested in, and then you can focus it down to maybe be a little bit more productive in your work. So during COVID, I was making high-end custom poker tables. And that was kind of what I was interested in making, but that's not something that a lot of people buy all the time because they're very expensive. So I kind of threw a whole bunch of other things out there, and people started buying laser engraved signage, and I was making Ninja Warrior courses for people's homes,
Wow.
rock climbing stuff, which is very different, but I wouldn't have thought to do that had I not kind of cast the net out. And so those things kind of filled in the time when I wasn't building one of the high-end poker tables that I was selling at the time. So definitely try and see what your local area is interested in. The next thing to talk about is kind of safeguarding yourself from a mistake. It's really easy to make this mistake. I've made it myself when I get excited when a business starts to take off, and that is purchasing things before you're supposed to. In particular, things like, hey, let's go get an office space. Things are blowing up right now. I want to go get a space. We're going to need it eventually, is usually what you tell yourself. And what I've learned is if you're saying I'm gonna need it, most likely I shouldn't do it. I only want to do things when I need to do it right now. So going out and committing to getting a lease on a warehouse or office space to be able to produce stuff is a big risk. The same thing with, you have a particular, let's say you have like a F1 laser engraver and you want to get a more expensive one. I know xTool will be happy to sell you one, but you want to make sure that you're ready for it before you go and spend that extra money. Especially when we're talking about lasers and things like this. In the end, you're probably going to keep both because both will be good for your operations. So you want to make sure that you're waiting until you absolutely need things before you go out and buy them, because you don't want to overstretch yourself. You want to keep things very tight when you're very new into the business space.
Sorry, we're having a little bit like an echoing issue right now. So right now I have my headphone right now, so hopefully it solved the problem.
I can't hear you now, Twiggy.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay.
No, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, sorry. Sorry.
It's very low. Sorry.
Can you hear me right now? So I have to do it like that. Okay, it's fine. Let me just take these things off. Okay, because like we have a little bit like echoing issue right now, so that's why I'm like wearing a headphone. But like since you can't hear me, so you can just keep, talking about your stories, and I won't interrupt, so that it won't, So sorry about that.
Oh, we're getting an echo right now.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my headphone back. Whenever I need to talk, I'll just like take off the things off, and you can keep going. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So when we're talking
about equipment and not wanting to spend money. You might not want to run out and buy that immediately. There are options to you like the demo room that xTool provides. So there are a lot of people who own xTool machines that you can go visit their locations if you have somebody close to you, be able to try out things on their machine, maybe complete that one-off job that came to you so that you're not rushing into something that maybe you're not ready for or that you might not have any more customers coming to you with. There are other options too, like depending on where you are in the country, there are places like co-ops. You pay a monthly fee and they have a lot of machinery and other tools available to you. It's a good way to find out what you like to use for an affordable price without you having to go out and buy those yourself. And of course, the xTool Facebook groups. There's over 150,000 between all the xTool Facebook groups, people in these. So they're a huge resource that's available to you. And it's really easy to find other people who are near you that might be interested in maybe letting you rent an hour on their machine. You might make a really good friend out of that, maybe do some business collaborations together, but you'll be able to find out if this machine's for you first, before you go make an investment, again, where you need to be keeping it really tight in the beginning. You don't want to rush into things. So it's good to be cautious with this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's get on to like the number one question, which is like where to sell my products. I see this all the time in the Facebook groups. People are asking, where should I sell my things? Of course, you have your craft shows and things, but it's really good to get out there and hustle. Any sort of business that you own, whether it's laser engraving or making some other type of item, nobody's going to just come to your door and ask to buy 1 million of them. It really is imperative that you get out there and do the work and try to get yourself in front of potential customers. If you can't do that, business is not for you. You have to be, when you own your own business, you have to be a salesman, you have to be the workhorse, you have to be the president, you have to be everybody. So getting out there and approaching businesses in person is always better because you can strike up conversations. I did a YouTube video where a friend of mine, he likes to go to these cigar bars. He was there and he just struck up a conversation with the owner. And the owner was like, oh, I really wish I could have these things with my company logo on them. And he's like, I can make that for you. He didn't own a laser at the time. So he came to me and said, hey, could I use your equipment just for the day so that I could batch out this thing for them? And I, of course, helped him. I want to see him succeed. And after doing that, he was able to go buy, I believe he bought a D1. And he bought a CNC machine so that he could start doing it himself. So just out of a conversation, he was able to start a business and then go around to all the other locations in the state and kind of show them his work and say, hey, would you like for me to do this for you as well? So getting out there and hustling is good. Consignment is a really easy, non-pressured way to get into small shops. So let's say you have, a small business. In our town, we have like a small dog store that has boutique-y type of stuff in there. So going into that store and saying, hey, I can make some laser engraved, very customized things for people's pets. Would I be able to put these in here on consignment, which means basically you make it and give it to that shop owner for free. The shop owner will attempt to sell it over a period of time. If they do, you get the money, other than their cut, of course. If they don't, they're going to give it back to you. So it will help form that relationship, give you an opportunity to be able to sell things without you actually even physically being there. And if you do sell a whole bunch through them, they'll be more open to just straight up purchasing it from you to stock their store with. So consignment is a very easy, non-risky way for that business to try out selling your goods. And of course, you could also do partnerships. Partnerships are where other people say they're doing your work, but it's really you. So a good example is like an embroidery store, someone that, will do like your company logo on a shirt. My local embroidery store, I had gone in to order some shirts and they talked with me and I told them about what I do. And they said, oh, could we totally put a whole bunch of your items in here? We'll market it, we'll sell it. And obviously I would get business from it. The only negative for that one is you don't actually form that connection with the customer, but hey, it's another avenue for you to be able to bring in work. And when you're a new business, you need to be bringing it in from every single direction that you possibly can. So after in-person hustling, I did a whole video on this next topic, laser as a service. If you buy one of these machines, this is literally something that's kind of rare for people to own. I don't know anybody around me within 15, 20 minutes that owns one personally. So just the fact that you own one, you are able to offer to your local community laser as a service. So you can put out on Facebook and Instagram and everything, bring me your things if you need them personalized. When you become an established business, that type of stuff might be a little bit annoying because you're busy all the time. But when you're new, you want to bring these people in, and it might even generate a whole new business avenue for you. Maybe it's somebody that's having a wedding and they want all these things personalized. You might get heavily into the wedding space. Maybe it's a golfer who wants his telephone number put on his golf clubs so that if he loses them on the golf course, he can get them back. And then he'll go back to his country club, show all his buddies, and now you have 75 people wanting you to laser engrave the golf clubs. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can think outside of the box. That's not just you making something and going to a show and selling it. So try and think about that when you're thinking about obtaining clients. There's also individual services you can do too, like if you have the F1 or the F1 Ultra, you can strip rust off of rusty tools. It takes 10 seconds and it's magic. And so people can bring you their rusty tools, boom, the rust is off of it and you charge a fee. You didn't have any materials that you had to buy or anything. It was just a couple seconds on your laser. Or maybe it's laser engraving foam for like custom inserts for different storage devices and things. Now, when we think about events, events are a really great opportunity for you to be able to bring in money and new customers, of course. But there are a lot of other events that you can think about than just a craft show, which is what everybody immediately thinks about in the beginning. You want to think about places where a lot of people congregate. So I have a minor league baseball stadium right around the corner from me. And when we go to these games, there's thousands of people there. And this stadium loves having tables with different companies doing things there. So they'll have theme nights and whatever. So you could totally set up a table there with some of your wares that people could buy, but you could also have bats and baseballs right there where you can engrave like John, best dad in the world on a baseball. It would open the door for you. So that's a really cool event. My son's doing Kung Fu, of course. You can see in the slide here, one of my son's medals. My sons have over 100 medals from doing martial arts for so long. I don't even know what they are for anymore. So at a certain point, I started laser engraving their medals. And so once I started doing that, everyone at our Kung Fu school wanted me to engrave their medals too. And so you could totally go to one of these big martial arts tournaments or a track meet where they're giving out medals, anything where they're doing that. Have a table there and say, hey, $5, I'll engrave your medal. And this is the type of thing where you can really crank them out because it's the same medal every single time. You can make a jig so it's placed exactly in the same spot every time. And it might only take you 30 seconds to engrave that medal and just keep it going. A typical tournament at my son's stuff, 2,000 to 5,000 medals will be given out. So even if you only did 200 at $5, you're making a lot of money in a 6-hour day there, pretty much as many as you could possibly make. So that type of event could easily pay off your machine. So it's definitely something you want to think about. Think about these big events with lots and lots of people. Another thing is advertising. And advertising for people who just started a business can be scary. The old forms of advertising, they're honestly ineffective and expensive. So, TV, radio, billboards. Radio's dead these days anyway, but one of my companies, I do giant light shows. So I will have 250,000 people come through a light show over a 30-day period at Christmas time. And so when I've done those, I will spend $15,000, $20,000 on billboards and radio, and I'll spend a little bit on Facebook. And the last time I did one of these big shows, my ticket people at the front, when you first come in, would have a little checkbox on like, where did you hear about us? And for all that money that I spent, we did not have a single person say, I saw your billboard, I heard you on the radio, I saw you on TV. Every single person was like, I drove by and saw it, my friend told me about it, I saw it on Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, they're all very affordable and incredibly targeted. When you do the old types of media, you're just exposing yourself to everybody. So anybody who's driving by, sees your billboard. But when you buy advertising on like Google ads, you are able to say, I only want people within 20 minutes of my house. I want people who are affluent. I want people who have this I only want to market to women, or I only want to market to men. There's all these things that you can add into it. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get in front of the right person. Down in this graph that I have on the screen, this is actually an ad campaign that I'm running this week. So I just kind of took a screenshot of it. This is for one of my other businesses, but I paid $94 for the week. I paid $15 a day is what I kind of capped it at. And I had 10,400 people see my ad, and then 138 people actually click on it and go to my website. And I did get some business out of that this week. So you could even decide to spend $1 a day. It doesn't have to be a lot, especially if you're really focused on who your current clientele is. So you can get your name out there for not a crazy amount of money. Web presences are very important too. I put out a small business video on my YouTube channel, and I had a whole bunch of people say, you didn't tell us how to make websites. Well, okay, so websites, I don't know how to make a website myself personally. So there are services out there like Squarespace, for example. They are very helpful interactive spaces to make a website. They have templates and you just kind of drag things over. But there are other services like Upwork and Fiverr. These are what are they called? Geez, I'm drawing a blank. They're where you are hiring individuals who are interested in doing work for you. And so what I can do is on one of those services, I can put up that I need a really easy website. It only has to be 3 pages. I want my store on there and I want to be able to update it easily. And I can give a couple photos. And then individuals on that service will say, I can do that website for $100, or I can do that website for $200. You'd be surprised how cheap you can get things done on there. Particularly a lot of people that are bidding on it might be overseas, and then the money exchange rate works out in their favor quite a bit. So I have used that for not only for websites, I've had like 3D printer stuff made for me, all sorts of different things, advertising. If you're not a graphic designer, there are people on there who, will be able to make your stuff surprisingly affordable if you need it. And then as you have a website with the things that you are selling, of course, anytime that you're putting things on social medias, make sure you are linking it back to your website. My friend Steve's website that I put up on the screen right now, he makes custom cutting boards. He laser engraves them afterwards for an additional fee. You might have gone to his site looking for the cutting board, but then you might see all the other things that he makes when you're there, and it might enlarge the purchase, or maybe they end up buying the other thing instead. So you saved a sale from maybe not happening.
Okay. So
Etsy is an option for people to sell stuff online. It is one of the first places that people think they're going to sell stuff. And there are people who do well on Etsy. Etsy, however, I don't like it whatsoever. It's not for me. And the reason why I feel that way is Etsy is a race to the bottom. If you have a unique item, Etsy is a great place for you. But when you're selling, let's say, a holiday sign that says Christmas or some sort of family message on there, there are 8,000 of them on there. And you might have a really nice one, but you have to put yourself in the consumer's shoes, where they're going to go on this website and they might search Christmas sign, and they're going to see your really beautiful one for $200, and then they're going to see another one that maybe they don't like as much, but they think is pretty good. That one's only $35. So they're going to pick that $35 one because there's a huge price difference. So because there's so much competition on there, everybody has to bring their prices as low as possible. When you sit back afterwards and you think about how much money you made for the amount of work that you spent on it, was it worth it? It might not be. So I personally have used Etsy more as an exposure tool, if that makes sense. So during the pandemic, when I was selling my poker tables and different things, I put ads up on Etsy for insane amounts of money. I would put $15,000 for a poker table on there, knowing that no one was going to purchase it. Though if they did, I wouldn't be upset. But it was more, I would get a lot of people contacting me through there, asking me about other things that I made, or they wanted to talk about custom options. And so it turned into an offline relationship. So it wasn't actually through Etsy. It brought me a customer that then I could work with. So I used it more like a very cheap advertising tool. Now, pricing your products and services. This, in any business, is also one of the big questions. Everybody wants to know, what should I sell my product for? That is the wrong question that everybody asks. It is the complete incorrect way to think about it. The first thing you need to understand, the most important thing you could ever understand, is what is the true expense of this thing that I'm making. You have to understand that first. So to do that, you first look at the base products. So let's say we're going to make one of those Christmas signs here in the shop. I have to buy the wood for that. I have to use my laser engraver to do a whole bunch of things there. Maybe I need a sander. Maybe I need a router to finish up that wood after the fact. I'm going to have to spray poly. I might have to fill it with resin. There's a whole bunch of other materials that might go into the production of that sign. That's where a lot of people then stop thinking about what the cost is. You need to think about what your disposables cost. I used paper towels, I used Q-tips, I used all sorts of other stuff that goes into that price. And while each one of those things might only be a couple cents, it adds up over time. And so you really need to have all of those things factored in. And then you have to think about your long-term expenses too. Obviously, we're using electricity in here. These lasers don't run on air. They run on electricity. It will up your electricity bill. So you have to factor that in there. You have to factor the wear and tear on your machine. These machines are built really, really well, but they will not last forever. You will have to buy a new one at some point, or you might have to repair it at some point. And so you have to factor that price into every single job that you do. So maybe you think this P2 might last you 10,000 jobs. Well, you need to take the cost of a new one and divide it by 10,000 and add a little bit for every single job so that when the time comes, you're able to buy a new one because you have that extra money coming in. There's all sorts of other things, but you really have to look at your full long-term expenses in there and divide it out. If you're looking at other machines like my CNC machine, or if you're just going to use a router after you put it through here, the router bits will not last forever. You have to factor those in. They can be really expensive. So understanding your true expenses is very important. I've done lots of consulting work for people with businesses where after I really dug into things, they thought they were making money. They thought they were here. And then I tell them that in reality, they're here, or even they're losing money. And isn't that the worst thing in the world? Thinking you're making money, but in reality, after the fact, you're actually losing it. So having a good handle on your expenses is the number one most important thing about owning your own business. Once you know your expenses, and let's say our Christmas sign is $25. Now we need to understand our labor. So the labor is you. And the labor is really the money that you're going to make in profit from this item. So there's many different ways you can look at this. No way is wrong. I personally use a multiplier. So I might say that it was $25 in material for this sign. And then I think about how much time, effort, and difficulty this sign was. And so I might say, well, this sign was really easy. I'm just going to multiply it by 2. Maybe I'm making a whole bunch of laser engraved pens. Those are really easy. Maybe I'm only multiplying it by like 1.5. As you see on the screen right now, I made this cart for my son's Kung Fu school so that when we're in Chinatown in New York City for Chinese New Year, it's a drum cart. And so it kind of represents our school. Well, this thing took me like a week to make. I used my P2, so I laser engraved all the different designs on there. I filled it with epoxy resin. It was a lot of work. And so something like that, I might times it by 10 what my material cost is. Other people will just decide to put a per hour labor charge onto things. Again, it's all in how you want to approach it. I like the multiplier aspect because I know I'm covering my expenses and, I'm kind of getting to an easy concept for whatever I'm building with it. You also need to account for wait time if you're doing laser work because with lasers, it takes time. You cannot walk away from your laser. You could be here in the shop doing something else. There are other things you can do, but you can't leave this unattended.
Yes.
So you're present, and so you need to be charging for that time too. The last thing, so once you understand what your materials were, what you want to make on it based on the time that it took you. So let's say that sign again, it was $25. I'm going to add $15 to the price. So I'm going to sell this sign for $40. Now I have to look at what the market actually will bear, what people will pay for this. Are people willing to pay $40 for it? If yes, awesome, great. It fit with my formula. I will be happy based on the amount of work that I spent to do this thing. If you're under what people are willing to pay, maybe people are willing to pay $75. Well, you then have the decision, do I keep it low and maybe I'm going to get a lot of sales out of it? Or do I bump it up a little bit and make a little bit more money on each one of them? That's up to you. But if your $40 is above what people are willing to pay, this then comes up to the problem of, should you even do this in the first place? Because you're obviously going to have to lower your profit margin. And at a certain point, you might say, I'm only making $5 on this sign. This sign took me a lot of work. It took me over an hour. So I'm at least only making $5 an hour when I do this. I could go work at McDonald's for more than that. So maybe it's not worth it. And you have to think about other things that you could make where you're going to be making a little bit more money. I personally have always liked businesses that cater to rich people because they have a lot of money and they're willing to spend on it. So, think about it that way because then you can charge quite a bit. My Christmas light business that I own, it caters to rich people. So it's something that works out well for me. So think about that when you're looking at your clientele, of course. Productivity and time saving with your machines. The faster you're able to produce something, the more you're able to produce.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting here for an hour waiting for one thing to end, that's an hour of your time. But if you could make that same thing in 20 minutes, that's a big jump to where you could be making several in that time. This really comes into play when we're talking about live events. So going back to that martial arts tournament where we're engraving medals, I'm only there for 6 hours. So you have to almost think of a formula. I want to do the most people that I possibly can. I want to do the most sales in that time. And I don't want to have a line of extra people. So figuring out that, particularly with like the F1 Ultra, which is incredibly fast at engraving metals, I might be able to have 200 sales during that time. And then that helps me kind of educate myself. Well, if I only price it at $1 a metal, I'm going to have a mile-long line and I'm never going to get to everybody. So maybe I'll price it at $5. The line's going to get shorter of people who are like, nah, I don't want to buy that. But maybe the line's still too long. Maybe I can charge $7 or $8. You kind of want to shift it around until you get to the perfect spot where you're making the most amount of money for your time and making the most amount of product you can. If you go to one of these events and you're making a ton of money, you should pick up another one of these for the next time that you come, because then you can have 2 machines running and double the amount of money that you're there for. So always think about how fast you can produce your products.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to move on to financial support. I have been kind of tailoring a lot of this to the laser engraving field. Laser engraving is kind of a low barrier to entry, so you might not need financial support, but all businesses at some point do, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. First off is incorporating with the government. When we start small businesses, we have the tendency of wanting to just kind of keep it on the side, cash business type of thing. And that's okay for a period of time. What a lot of people who haven't owned their own business don't realize is that when you incorporate and you're able to do your taxes, you are able to write off an incredible amount of expenses from your business. In the end, saving you money. Not only would I be able to write off the purchase of this machine, but I would also be able to write off the depreciating value of that machine over time. So I continue to be able to write those things off. Every single expense that I have under my business gets written off. There's a reason why these billionaires pay less in taxes than we do, and it's because they write things off through their businesses. So you should be able to take advantage of that same thing too legally. Of course, consult a tax professional and whatnot, but you are able to write off direct items, things that you're buying for your business, expenses like that, but you're also able to write off auxiliary stuff. I work out of my home here, so my 2-car garage is my shop. I have my office inside my house that I use for business. I even have some area in my basement that I use for storage of my business stuff. So when I write off my taxes, I'm able to write off a portion of my mortgage, of my taxes, the property taxes, of my utilities, of everything under the sun, because part of this is in my home. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Once you do start to take off, make sure you incorporate. It's very easy. You can go to your state's website. You do not need a professional to help you do that. You do not need a lawyer. You can do it yourself for $100 to $150, depending on the state. And there is free help for you at community colleges. Community colleges all the time have small business help, people that you can go and talk with, typically professors of business, and they can steer you in the right direction if you have questions. So now a little bit of bad news. As I've said, I've owned 20 businesses, and they've been everywhere from little businesses to really, really big businesses. My student loan company that I owned, I made $1 million when I was 24, the first 6 months that I owned that. I actually had to have employees go with me on business trips because I wasn't old enough to rent a car when we would go other places for business trips. It was crazy. That business ended up, they changed the laws, and overnight we were out of business at one point. But it was a great business while I had it. When starting businesses, if you need money, typically a bank's not going to give it to you. I put on the slide here the eligibility requirements from the Small Business Association. They say right on their website, that circled piece says that you have to have the ability to repay the loan, which basically means they want to see that your business is profitable. Well, if your business is profitable, most likely you don't need the help. You have the money to go do things that you want to do. My brother is also an entrepreneur, and he and I have joked many times that when we were really in need, bankers didn't want to look at us. But the second that we were doing really well with our business, bankers are trying to like open our windows and chuck bags of money in because you're a safe bet at that point. So unfortunately, when you're at the very base startup of things, getting money from a bank probably isn't going to be an option for you. But there are other ways. So one way is being a sweat equity partner. That is typically what I am. I am somebody who I like working hard. I usually have the vision of what I want to do, grab it, and I go at it. Any industry that I try to enter into, I make sure that I become an expert in that industry, that I can answer any question that anybody has for me in that field. So there are lots of people out there with some extra cash that want to make some more money. Trust me, I have had a ton of businesses where almost strangers gave me very large sums of money to work with me to own a business. So in those scenarios, you have your money partner who earns their ownership in the business through the money that they put in. And then you have the sweat equity partner who earns their ownership in the business through the blood, sweat, and tears that you do running the business yourself. So if you don't have financial capital available to you, you can always take that approach. You will get to your goals faster that way, although you do have to have a partner. So there can be lots of pros and cons to that too. Now, 40% of businesses that start up typically get their money from friends and family. So if we're thinking more about you're wanting to get into a small business doing laser engraving, everybody comes from different financial means. It's okay. You might not have $1,000 sitting around that you're able to go buy a laser engraver with. So a lot of people will turn to friends and family. So some recommendations for that if you choose to do that. Number one, make sure that you put out terms very clearly with that person. Make sure that they understand the passion that you have for this, and that a laser engraving business is a pretty low investment as far as businesses go. I mean, you can get a really nice S1 for $2,500, completely fitted out with everything. Compare that to one of the restaurants that my chain opened where you'd be spending $200,000 just to open the doors. So very different scale of how much money you're investing. When you're dealing with friends and family, try not to get into long-term arrangements. Maybe, you want to borrow $5,000 to buy a P2 and also have $1,000 for, materials and other startup expenses. You want to make sure that you're paying that person back before you take any money for yourself. That is the easiest and best way to do things. And of course, they're going to want to make some money too. So maybe you're borrowing $5,000 and you agree that they're going to get $7,000 back. So maybe a good way to do it is you will get your $5,000 that you invested back right away. And then after that point, we're going to split it 50-50 until you get that other $2,000 that I owe you. That way I can start getting some money too. If you keep it respectful, you follow through with what you said you're going to do, you're going to have somebody available to you in the future should you ever need it again. So that's very important. Also, really try to not have it where they become your partner forever. I have in my Christmas light business, I have a franchisee. And so for the first 5 years, he is giving me a very heavy commission on what he does. And that's because I'm helping him start his business. I'm helping him grow it. I'm teaching him everything he knows. But after the first 5 years, he will be completely set. He won't need me anymore. And so if I was taking such a big chunk after that point, it would start to sour the relationship. No matter how much you don't think it will, over time, he's going to be like, I'm doing all the work. Why am I giving this guy so much money? So we have it in our agreement where after 5 years, I drop down to just 5%. So I still get a cut of something for forever, but it's not something onerous. So same thing here. If you borrow money from people, try not to, especially friends and family, try not to make it a long-term thing because it's very easy to ruin family and friend relationships when it comes to business. So try to keep it short-term, cut and dry. That way you can fulfill your agreement to them and move on from that. So looking at laser engravers as a low-risk business, when I you know, everything as an entrepreneur, I look at everything all the time. Every business that I go into, I try and figure out in my head how much it costs. Is it a good business? It's just kind of something I always look at. And when I started getting into laser engraving, I'm like, man, this is, I don't want to call it a money machine, but it is a machine that will help you make money. It has incredible versatility in what you can make with it. And everybody gets excited with personalized options. So whether it's just a gift giving machine to you where you're doing crafting, and trust me, in my household, every time we have people coming over, I'm making, you know, every grandma and mother like a pendant that has their kids' names on it. We're making friends signs for their house, all sorts of stuff anytime anybody comes over, and everybody is just always amazed with it. So let's talk about how that is a low risk business. 90% of businesses don't make it after the first year. And that's because a lot of businesses are high risk. If you think about restaurants, like I was talking about, most restaurants only make 5 to 10% profit. So it's very razor thin with a huge investment involved. Whereas laser engraving, you have a somewhat low investment, and that's it. You are able to just go off of your own work and try and get out there and make it happen. I like low risk. So like me starting my YouTube channel was completely low risk. It doesn't cost anything to start a YouTube channel. I threw a couple videos up. If it took off, awesome. If it didn't, oh well, I wasted a couple hours and I'm going to move on to my next thing. So low risk is very good. You don't want to get into a business, especially your very first one, where you're risking your house. You know, things like that. So that's why I like laser engravers. So the next slide here, I'm going to show kind of like the P2. Like this is just a way to think about it. I'm sorry, the S1. So if you were going to buy an S1 and kind of get everything that you possibly can with it. So a full bundle plus the IR module so that you could also mark metals with it. I personally find the S1 to be the best beginner laser anywhere. It's safe, it's multifunction, it has a large bed, it can do pretty much everything. So, you know, it might not be as fast as the P2 or be able to do acrylics, but it can do most things for a very affordable price. So if I was a beginner and I looked at that, I would say, okay, I'm going to spend $2,500 and I'm going to commit to 6 months. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can during that time and see if it works. I'll set a financial goal for myself saying I will consider this a success if I hit this amount of money during that time period. Most likely, if it is a success for you, you'll know pretty quickly. It won't take you the 6 months. But if you got to that 6 months and you said, you know what, this really isn't for me, that's okay. You can liquidate this. This is a physical, tangible item that is worth money. So at only 6 months old, you might be able to get 65% of the value out of it. So that $2,500 machine, you could sell it for $1,625. And so you really only risked $875 on the venture. Obviously, there's other expenses and things, but for a rough example. And I would hope that during that 6 months that you really, really tried hard, you made some sales, that you at least made that $875 back. So maybe you broke even, and that is the best thing you could ever think of with a business, that you decide to stop, that you actually didn't lose money on it. Or if you did, maybe it was, you know, almost a trivial amount. So that's why this type of thing, I've been very excited about laser engravers. Actually, one of my Christmas employees, Amari, he's been with me for 5 years. He works really hard for me. And so I said, hey, let's do a YouTube video. The next time the boys have a tournament, I'm going to talk with the tournament and see if he can do the engraving of the metals. He's never used a laser engraver before. I'm going to show him how easy it is. I'm going to let him borrow my machine. He gets to keep all the money when we're there. And I'm really interested to see how he does at that event. So I'll be putting a video up on that, you know, as soon as it happens, probably in a couple months. I see the value in the opportunity with these types of machines to just make really cool stuff. And when you can make cool stuff, it's pretty easy to sell things. So that's pretty much it for what I for today. A lot of this is basic business stuff. Some of it is, maybe common sense to me, but if you've never owned a business before, some things might not occur to you, and some things like making sure that you keep it really tight financially in the beginning needs to be reiterated a whole bunch of times, because that is law. You need to make sure that you're not spending more than you're bringing in, especially in the beginning. I always have a good saying to the machine will be paid for by the business. The money dictates the machine. So am I going to go out and buy a $50,000 something or other right away? No. I'm going to go get something affordable at first, and then as the money comes in, then I can go get that really big expensive thing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Justin. Even I am so tempted to start a business. I like how you are being so, creative, in your business, but at the same time being very rational, very details on the numbers. You're talking about how you want to start on a very tight budget, right? You want to think about every expenses that you are including in your business, and then you can go ahead and expand your business in a very cautious ways. I really like that, because I am also have a little side hustle. I have a bar business. So yeah, I was also, cause it was just in the very first month. So I also was thinking about so many of the things that I find, so many of the things that you said are so valuable to me. So thank you, very, very much. I will just keep, cause I haven't really get a chance to really go through your YouTube videos before, but right now I think all of your videos are going to be very, very helpful, since you talk about so many, not only on the creative side of the business, but also on the very rational side of the business. So I really, really I really appreciate, your suggestion that you have given to us, to our audience as well. And also, let me go through some of the questions that we might have from our audience right here. So the first questions that we have right here, okay, as you have talked about in our business, right, in starting a small business, if you have talked about, for example, you use Etsy for you to reach customers, but not really getting the actual orders from them, because they turn to a lot of people are comparing the price, so you not get a very good profit margin from it. So you just use Etsy for just reaching out to get exposure from your customers, right? And then they can contact you directly and get an offline order, right? And you also talk about how you can reach people through Facebook ads, or through Google ads, right? You're talking about how you cost very little just to reach a lot of people. So in your opinion, what would be the best platform for you to reach even more customers, if you have to pick one?
So you have to think about who your customer is. So if we're talking about my wife is only on Instagram these days. So if I'm looking to reach moms 30 to 45, that is where I want to be. If I'm looking for maybe a little bit of an older crowd, maybe it's over at Facebook. I personally like Google Ads leading over to my website, because it literally took somebody searching for the exact item that I'm matched with, and then it brings them to me. So, the thing that I had thrown up there was for my commercial Christmas light business. So, for 4 months out of the year, I have guys going and putting up Christmas lights at people's houses. It sounds crazy, but it's a very good business. And so I really just focus on somebody doing a keyword search of Christmas light installer. And so if they type that, I want it. That is my customer right here, as long as they're within a certain bubble around me. So being able to tailor who you're going after is really what will determine where you advertise.
Okay. So we also have other questions right here. Sorry. Just give me one second. I have so many windows open. And, what are so you also talked about there are tools to help you to grow a business, right? You also talked about the differences between, our laser machine is as a tool for you to grow your business, right? If you want for example, to take it to craft fair, you might want to think about, take xTool F1, because it's such a head turner every time you, open, turn on F1 and just doing some personalization on site, right? And you also talk about how S1 could be a very good entry level, laser machine for beginners, right? So what are there some other tools that can really help you to, grow business, except from, obviously that we have our laser machine right here. What are some other tools that you are using to grow a business?
Sure. So you mean physical tools, if we're in the
AI tools, anything physical, okay, or digital, that's gonna be fine.
Sure. So, first off, in like the woodworking space here, a CNC machine is obviously a really good investment. CNC, 3D printers, and laser engravers are all very similar. They actually kind of really
Mm-hmm.
overlap. They're all a machine that has a moving gantry for the most part, and it's either removing things with a laser, removing things with a bit, or adding things with plastic. So these are very interesting machines that actually work together. Though I bought my CNC machine before I got into lasers, and I thought the CNC machine was everything to me, and now I rarely use it. I literally go to my laser engravers 90% of the time, and I only go there when I have to go there because of the specific process.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to other tools, from like a online or sales perspective, it really depends on the business, of course. I, being in like the franchise world, have used a lot of tools that send things out to multiple franchisees at the same time. Trying to think what a good, you know, just being able to get a little bit of Photoshop experience. Anybody who
Mm-hmm.
owns their own business, you need to be able to make not high-end advertisements, but you need to be able to just make graphical types of things. And there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of options out there, but Photoshop's really easy. And Photoshop it's not as scary as people think it is who've never used it. It now has a lot of AI built into it, so I can
Mm-hmm.
just draw a box. And even for this presentation, some of the graphics that we've used in this, I literally just drew a box and typed in what I wanted, and it made a picture. And I was like, okay, that fits, and I plopped it into the PowerPoint here. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's become really easy, even if you're not a graphic designer, to be able
Right.
to use AI tools to create advertising for yourself. In particular, I used that for this presentation because I didn't want to just go on Google and steal somebody's image somewhere. That is against the law, first off. And since I'm putting this out here in front of other people, that's double against the law. So I can take an image that I'm interested in and I can say, ooh, this one is something similar to I want to, and I can plop it into Photoshop's AI thing and I can
And let it
say,
change
make
it,
me
right?
something like this.
Uh-huh.
And then it gives me something that's very similar but is unique, and legally I'm allowed to use it because I created it. So it's a very easy way to make really high-end advertising and marketing aspects for your business.
Yeah, and also people are saying in the comments is like, for example, I'm using Canvas. Some people are saying they're using because we know a lot of times when you start a small business, as you talked about, you are one person doing everything. So you are the salesman, you are the
Absolutely.
marketer, and you are doing everything. So some people also say they can use AI tool to help them manage their day. For example, if I am a person who would just like managing everything, and also, for example, if I'm a mom or like I am, just like doing everything by myself, how do I plan everything while have the time to fit my kids and doing all the marketing things of my business. So I think AI tools going to be very, very helpful, except from all those like physical tool that you have, for example, our laser machine. And by the way, guys, you can still enjoy our xTool S1 giveaway, so make sure to join our Facebook group of this small business right here, so you can get a lot of like useful information for you to kickstart your business. Right. And also we have some other, let's see, we have some other people saying that they are using, like Photoshops, as you say, we are using Photo Room, as you say, and there are so many different things that our people are, tools are
Another
using.
good one that people could take a look at too is something outside of that realm is Airtable. So I've used that with a couple of my businesses. There
Mm,
are free versions of that. And that's basically like a step up from an Excel spreadsheet. So a lot of people, when they start off trying to keep track of stuff, they're doing it in an Excel spreadsheet. Airtable is a modular platform that's like a database, but it's really, really easy to use. If you can use a spreadsheet, you can use Airtable. And so
mhm.
you can easily make different platforms on there, like little buttons where you can say, oh, I keep all my customers in here. I'm keeping all of my sales receipts in here. And so it kind of divides up your business, but you can do lots of really interesting searches through there. So you're able to then say, oh, just typing in a query like, how much money did I make in September? Things like that,
Mhm.
it kind of does the equations and things for you.
Right. And also we have a question from our audience from it's Debbie Brown. Will ask, when starting out, how far should you niche down, if at all?
How far should you what?
Niche down, niche down, niche down.
So like
Nikta?
looking in.
Sorry, Niche. Did I pronounce it right?
So how far should you be focused
Yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah,
year?
yeah, yeah.
So it really depends on your customers. In this field, you can stay kind of wide, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In other type of businesses, you need to be laser focused. You need to understand what your job is and do it. But when you're creating things, when you're a creative person, there's a wide array of things that you might be interested in. As businesses start to grow, though, out of like the beginning stages, you might want to just focus on that one thing that makes you a lot of money that you have the most sales on.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have full rooms of just P2s and other laser engravers in there, and it's because they only sell tumblers. There's lots of people. My buddy Mike Smirka does nothing but tumblers for the most part, and he'll get orders of 600 of them at a time, right?
Yeah.
But there are other people where, maybe their specialty is more of a theme. So maybe it's poker products. When I bought my CNC machine, I was going to make these like little individual poker trays that you could have on your table to hold your chips and your drink and whatever. Um, and I kind of got away from that, but that might be the thing that sells for you. And so you're just making a ton of them. So you have a ton of machines that's all dedicated to that. Money is going to tell you where to spend your focus, is really the answer. So cast that net in the money, follow the money, and the money will tell you what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And also, so since you're saying you had your 20, small business before, and right now, you're doing, some small business as well. And so can we understand like how many people you are like hiring right now to understand the scale of your business? Because a lot of people are, worried about if they're just like starting out, they don't have time to do everything by themselves. So can we understand, what kind of things that you are, hiring people to do, and what kind of thing you're still taking in control, doing it by yourself. So
Sure.
I think people will have like a better understanding of
That's
that.
actually a slide that I had for this, and I actually cut it at a point. Um, it's been very different over the course of all my businesses. I've
Mhm.
had several hundred employees over all of my businesses.
Wow.
Employees is actually something that I've learned that I don't want to have a lot of. Um, when I had my student loan business that was really successful, I had 40 employees with that. And when the law changed, we kind of had to quickly reshuffle. And I didn't want to fire all these people. We had an existing
Mm-hmm.
business, everything was going well, and it was just the law changed. Basically, the banks didn't like that we were making so much money, so they
Mm.
snuck something in. So we pivoted over to a different business. And while it was starting up, I had all these employees. I was paying $20,000 a week in payroll. And
Wow.
before I knew it, I was out of money because I wanted to try to keep those employees. And that was a mistake on my part. So now I'm very careful with employees. So,
Mm-hmm.
from a small business aspect, when you grow your business to the point where you feel, I need help, I can't do this on my own, and I don't have family members or whatever that can hop in and dedicate some time to things. When you hire on your first employee, you're trying to carve off pieces of your business that are A, annoying to you, and B,
Mm-hmm.
easy to accomplish. No one is going to be as good at you, period, at your business. Never. So you never immediately give away the skilled work. You give away
Mm-hmm.
the easy stuff so that it just takes things off of your plate. Shipping, sanding, just finishing work, dealing with orders that are coming in, paperwork types of things. These are also employees that you'll probably be able to get cheaper, so you're not taking on a really expensive employee. And
Mm-hmm.
so it should really be looking at things on chipping away at what you do as you bring on more employees,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you end up having to get an expensive skilled person who can do that one big chunk that you're trying to alleviate for yourself. But that should really come much, much later, usually.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to bring on employees because, again, where we're trying to keep it tight like this,
Yeah.
um, you only bring them on when you really need to. It's easy to jump into employees too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Even in businesses that I've had that have done really well, there have been times where we brought on employees too soon. Like even in my restaurant business that we had, we were selling restaurants like crazy, but they weren't being built in the exact same time frame that I was selling them. And at a certain point, we had so many restaurants that were in construction. We're like, uh-oh, we need to hire a lot of more people that deal with the training and the openings of these than what we have. So we hired a whole bunch, and then those restaurants got delayed and they didn't open. So we're sitting there paying these people for a long period of time, and they weren't needed. So you want to be able to avoid things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. And we also have a question from our audience is like, what other business have you been involved in? And did those business carry into the current business that you have?
Okay, so to give a really quick one, let's see. So when I was in college, I started an advertising and marketing company, and then that turned into me making my own magazine that was a direct mailer to people, advertising specifically to high-end homes. Then I got into a business that never took off the ground, where we were trying to make we would own a building and we'd bring in like one plumber, one electrician, one roofer, one whatever, and have everybody in there pooled. They could pool their money and things. Contractors aren't great about paying their bills, so that didn't work out. Then I got into the student loan industry. That was great. Then we got into debt negotiation. That was horrible. It wasn't an idea that I had. We just kind of pivoted to it. It was bad. That's where I lost all that money trying to keep the employees after the fact. Then I got into consulting. Then I did liquidations. I would buy semi trucks of Amazon returns. And then I had a big warehouse with employees. We'd go through everything and then relist it on eBay or on Amazon. And that was pretty good. But it was a lot of work. And so I kind of let that go at a certain point. And then I started my Christmas light business 15 years ago. That was a weird one. Who puts up Christmas lights? But I can tell you, I work 4 months out of the year with that, and I don't have to work the rest of the year. I make enough money with that where the rest of the year I can spend time with my kids, go on vacation, just hang around the house, or spend all that extra time trying to come up with new other businesses that will make me even more money. So I've had that for quite a long time. That was one of those low risk businesses too. I kind of found out about that when I was visiting my brother down in Florida. They had a service do it. I didn't see it where I lived, so I put up a website, and all of a sudden I just started getting calls where people wanted it. So I was like, okay, I got a business. Awesome. Then I did my giant light show things. Those have been great, but they're an incredible amount of work. Then got into the restaurant business. That was an experience. And, in one of those things where it's like, be careful about business partners. I had business partners that kind of shoved me out of that one. So that wasn't a great experience, kind of stab in the back. So you have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
And then I got into consulting afterwards. So I had built up that business so quickly. Other franchises wanted to hire me to come and see if I could grow their businesses. So I've been doing consulting for quite a while. That's one of the businesses that I own. And then got into woodworking. I had already built 3 houses myself. So my grandfather, and I had built a house when I was a teenager. 100%. We literally had no subcontractors. We did everything from the foundation to the roof to everything on the inside. So I learned a lot. And so then when I built houses for myself, like this one I general contracted for myself, I've become good at building. And so then I kind of created this during COVID when I was bored. And then YouTube took off where I was making things for that. This was literally just me being bored, making my garage cool during COVID, honestly.
Well, I mean, I could just like listen to you talk for hours about like how just like you are in your current business, and then all of a sudden you saw something and be like, okay, I could start another business when you were doing this business.
I've forgotten a couple in there too. I did the autism business because one of my employees had an autistic child, and he was saying how if children get enough therapy, it will get them to the point when they're teenagers that, they've made great advancements. So I was trying to work with a team of doctors to make a product that would take that therapy, put it in a box, kind of like hooked on phonics, so that the parent could do it at home. I learned a very valuable lesson with that one. Product development is really risky. So we spent 2 years trying to build this product, and we worked with school systems. We brought in all these school systems saying, what do you want to see? Because when we sell this, not only do we want to sell it to people, we want to sell it to schools because that'll give us big volume orders. And so we listened to what everybody wanted, and then we manufactured it, and then nobody bought it. Spent 2 years and over $100,000, and nobody bought any of them. So it literally went. So Product development is very difficult. So I give lots of kudos to xTool here for
Yeah, I was just
building
gonna say
product.
that. Yeah, I was just gonna say that because like building product is something so risky because in the very beginning you know exactly people might want, and then realize that when you put out actually the product in the market, you realize okay, there might be not that much demand in the market, and you realize okay, we spent so much money on R&D, and then you realize okay, so this product is not selling very well. So yeah, definitely product development is something that is so risky that I wouldn't suggest anybody to just like go in it blindly. And so we have one last question. So you've said you have learned some very important lessons, right? For example, don't bring, employee too soon, or like, just think about, really taking, just stay away from the product development. So if you're not very, experienced in it, or you have like a very in-depth, like, market research about that. And so what are the most important lesson that you have ever known that you wish you knew before you start your business?
So most important ones, that product development one is one of them. Nowadays, when I did that, Kickstarter didn't exist. That would have been a perfect Kickstarter type of business where people paid up front and then we knew we had a winner or a dud, that type of thing. So when it comes to product development, that's the risky thing. So Kickstarter is cool for that. Not getting ahead of myself. We had, which we already talked about, that really is one of the big things because my advertising business, we got ahead of ourselves. We were doing well. We had somebody wanting to buy in as a money partner. We're telling this guy, hey, buy us a building so we can do all this. And, we're thinking we're up here, but really we're only down here. We were shooting over our means during that point. So keeping those expenses in, I've had many times where I've spent more money than I should have. And it's put me in a bind. And it's those things, that's the mantra, like keep it tight. That is the number one thing when you're new is don't take those risks. It might save you money in the long run if I buy that next thing that I'm going to buy anyway, but don't buy the one here that you need right now. Get that one when the money tells you to get that one. So yes, you might have lost out on a little bit of savings, but it's better to play it safe. That is the number one big thing. And that's why so many businesses fail is they put too much out in the beginning, and not enough comes back in. Don't waste money on the stupid stuff. People feel like they have to put on the show for people and make you seem like when you get an office building, I have to have a Class A office building with glass walls and all sorts of stuff so that I impress people. You don't need that until you have lots of money. Keep it cheap with your first office or warehouse or whatever. Let your work be the thing that impresses people, not the show. Also, the number one thing too, expenses. Expenses. So I do a lot of consulting work. Mostly I'm giving other businesses bad news is really what I do. Businesses ask me to come out there and say, hey, can I franchise my business? And I look at stuff and it's like, nope.
No.
Please do not. I had some good friends of mine that they kept telling me that they were going to start their own business and that they were going to make a cleaning product company. And I didn't want to get involved, but at a certain point I started to really get concerned. So I said, why don't you pitch me? I'll give you some free advice on that, like as friends type of thing. So they pitched me and they had a beautiful presentation and stuff, but I was like, that's cool. I don't really care about that. Show me the numbers right now. And when they showed me the numbers, they guessed on some things. They were going to manufacture their bottles in China and import them over. And they guessed that the shipping for their container was going to be $1,000. And as somebody who has manufactured overseas and brought containers over and had to go through customs and tariffs and all this other stuff, I'm like, oh no, buddy, that is not what it costs. It is many, many times that. And so then once we plugged in the real numbers, they would have had to have spent $110,000 to maybe make $120,000. So literally only a 10 grand profit. So that to me was a huge risk for such a little reward. And I just told them, like, as your friend, do not do this business. Do something else. This is a horrible idea. So understanding your expenses is really important.
Okay.
That's a big.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest takeaway I get from your, all of the suggestion that you have is definitely keep it tight in the very beginning. And then just, when you want to expand like with cautious, right? Thinking about everything that might be involved. So expenses. Okay. I got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Justin. Yeah. And, people are saying I can't wait to actually register my business, and that will be when I start making money and get real orders. Yeah, so I know. Listening to Justin's story, it might, make a lot of people, very tempting to start a business. I want to start a side hustle as well. I mean, I'm working for xTool anyway, so I get easy access to this like laser machines, right? And it's interesting to start a business because you get, into contact with so many people, and you get like, real customers, and you talk to them and you understand their needs and then demands. And I think that's really interesting when you come up with like new products to, fit their needs. I think that is really interesting. So guys, so before we wrapped up, don't forget you can enter our xTool S1 laser engraver giveaway. So, okay, to participate, you simply join the xTool for Small Business Facebook group, and you'll find details and rules of how to participate. Okay, we're doing actually giveaway, on every of our session here of our SuccessLab. So, thanks to Justin again. Thank you so much for all your valuable, feedbacks and insights and like suggestion to all those people and to our audience, because you guys were watching and you guys want to start a business and you guys give, feedbacks and like suggestion to each other. I think, that's why we really want to, do the Success Lab, because we want to keep this community like, being very helpful for each other and to, help each other grow and thrive in a small business, right? So thank you so much. And also please make sure to go ahead and join our Success Lab, because we're going to keep bringing on more guests, more, entrepreneur to share their valuable lessons that they have learned during their entrepreneurial journey. So thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. And I think that's all for today's Success Lab. Looking forward to see you in the next one. And this is Twiggy from xTool, and this is Justin.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you. Make sure to also go ahead and follow, our Justin's YouTube channel, because he shares so many, valuables, informations about, laser machines and, woodworking business. So make sure to go ahead and follow Justin as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao, ciao. Thank you guys. Thanks, Justin. Thank you so much. 先把 live 关掉。Yep. And let's end this. How do we end this? Where do we end this live? Where do we end this live? Go down. Is that or not? 是直接把它关了吗？还是怎么回事？笑死！ We're still live right now.
That's okay.
We're just trying to find the button to like end this. How do we end it? Where is it? Where is this live right now? Oh, okay. Let's refresh it. Thank you guys. So if you are still in the live stream room, we're just trying to find a button to end this live. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to end this live right now. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And thanks to Justin.